mentioned, we have baroreceptors, chemoreceptors in the arteries, because that's what arterial means. This is where those receptors are found. So the receptors are found in an aortic body and in my carotids. That means it is monitoring the blood that just left the left ventricle of my heart. I am monitoring blood that just left the left ventricle of the heart. That's close, you guys. Meaning that if something is wrong, that blood is headed to my pulmonary or systemic circuit. Well, systemic, because it came from the pulmonary. So that means, if the blood gases were wrong, oxygen and CO2, they came back to the left side of the heart and then left the left side of the heart, that means there's now inadequate gas composition moving to the cells of my body. Does that make sense? So these areas that monitor that are in my carotids, the branching that takes place right off of the aortic arch, and in them you're going to see the little forks, the little branching that takes place, and that's where my chemoreceptors are. That's kind of cool if you think about it. When I get to the capillaries, because that's where the arteries are headed. Arteries are on their way to the capillaries. Think back to that first picture on that title slide, okay? Capillaries are my business end. Any exchange that is going to occur between the blood and the tissues which contain the cells of the body, it is going to happen at the capillary level. Their only makeup is endothelium, which was what structure? Simple squamous epithelium and lamina. We have three types. They're based on how easily materials will move. What types of materials do I need to get to the cells of my body? Oxygen, nutrients, glucose, electrolytes. What do I need to get rid of? CO2. What kind of waste? Nitrogen. Where does that come from?
Isn't it urine?
It empties by way, in other words, it'll leave the body by way of urine. But where did we hear that a lot, don't we? Nitrogenous waste, meaning they are nitrogen based. But where exactly in our body did that come from? Of course, Marlisha, because everything is happening at the cellular level. So what process in the cell took place to generate a nitrogenous waste? Y'all are going to be so mad at me when I tell you. Because you're going to go, oh, I knew that. Every cell of your body carries out chemical reactions. That is called metabolism. That is what the cell is having to do to stay alive. And they make their product. What is the only product a cell makes? Proteins. So they have to break stuff down to build the proteins up, including amino acids. They're nitrogen based, i.e. my nitrogenous waste. And that has to be gotten rid of. So things, I need to understand if things are coming together. One end, at this area of a capillary, this is my artery, this is the vein. This is my capillary bed. One side, and this is the tissues, these are the cells that are around it. One side is bringing in all the nutrients needed, demanded by those cells. So they move out at the capillary end into the fluid around the cell. Materials can then move into the cell. The cell can use them. The cell makes waste. Waste comes into the extracellular, moves out into that extracellular fluid where it's picked up on the venous side to return to be gotten rid of by kidneys, liver, other places. That right there, that is the function of my body. That process, if it does not occur, the tissue dies, the organism dies. Which is why I keep saying everything's at the cellular level. Everything is at the cellular level based on a capillary bed. Yes, no, maybe. So, the types, based upon their ease of movement, we're going to say that the capillaries can be continuous, fenestrated, or sinusoids. If it is continuous, and this is what we see in most tissues, that endothelium, that single layer of cells, because at a capillary bed, every capillary is a single layer of cells thick. That's it. It's only separated by that basal lamina and any tissues connecting to it in that cell layer thick. If it's only one cell layer thick and it's made up of simple squamous epithelium, this means there is some ease of movement, and materials can either, for the most part, they'll probably try to move through the cells or between them. We have little clefts. So if I have a single layer of cells, cell, in between the little cells is a little cleft. However, it's very small. So it only allows the movement of something small, like a glucose molecule. In the brain, because the brain regulates all of its activities, those capillaries that go to the brain will not have a cleft. Their cells will have tight junctions because of the blood-brain barrier. The rest of the body, the little clefts, will allow something to move. We'll have something called pericytes. Peri, around, okay? They have the ability to contract. So if I'm at a capillary bed and it has one of these pericytes around one of the bed branches, it can have the ability to contract, meaning, once again, control for movement of materials. This is the level that I have control in my body. It's not in the big ones. It is all the way down at this level. When we look at capillaries that are termed fenestrated, once again, endothelial. This time we have bigger pores. So in between cell to cell, it could be a little bit bigger than a cleft. It could also have a membrane over top of it. But because it's bigger, even though it's still small, it just simply allows for a more rapid passage of small molecules, like glucose. Sinusoids are different. I find sinusoids in my liver, bone marrow, spleen. Not a whole bunch of other organs, but it can be present. Biggest areas for a sinusoid: liver, bone marrow, spleen. The reason for this, it's a very wide gap that's present, and the molecules can be large. One of the things that I definitely need to make and get into the bloodstream is a bunch of proteins that might come from my liver, a bunch of blood cell components that'll come from the bone marrow. I need those blood cell components to move into the spleen to get broken down. Does that make sense? So, based on their ease of movement, we have these three types. This is some of the structure that I was mentioning for control of movement at the capillary bed. It's a web of the vessels. One side is arterial, one side is venous. Blood flows to the arterial side. Materials move out into the tissues. The tissues waste, the waste of the cells in that tissue come back onto the venous side, and we return. At any point in time, about 75% of your body's capillaries are shut down.